Well, hello there, I'm Détroit. Today I'm going to teach you 5 core concepts of art that you need to know as a visual artist. 5 concepts in 5 minutes. Let's start with shapes. Every shape is made up by either real lines or implied lines that are of 3 variations: a straight line, a C-curve and an S-curve. Here are the 3 on a simple leaf. It's good to alternate between rounded and angular on a shape, like on this cloud, or in this easily recognizable silhouette of a castle on a mountain cliff. The edge of the shapes can be hard or soft, like these clouds. The line can also be implied, like on this jug and its shadow. There are 3 basic shapes that have an implied meaning: circle, square and triangle. Circle is happy and funny. Square is strong and stable. Triangle is edgy and dangerous. This doesn't apply only to characters, but also settings or anything else. Considering the 3 makes for a more complete drawing. Moving on to perspective, let's start by tracing our horizon line. 1-point perspective is where you extend 3-dimensional shapes according to this 1 point on the horizon line. If the horizon line is high on the canvas, we're looking down. If it's low, we're looking up. There are 3 basic 3D shapes: a sphere, a cylinder and a cube. For perspective, a sphere will always be a sphere. Let's show 2-point perspective on a cube. Look at the difference it makes. We already have 2 points on the horizon line, let's add a third somewhere above. Now you can make multiple volumes that make sense together. Every complicated 3D volume can be decomposed into the 3 shapes: sphere, cube, cylinder. Work your way up from there and then you can do forced perspective or twisted perspective or extreme foreshortening. Let's keep our 3D cube to talk about light and shadow. The more a plane is angled compared to the light source, the less light it will get. Let's add a sphere to showcase all the shadows you need to consider. The darkest area will be the occlusion shadow, and the lightest is the highlight. The more diffuse the light is, or the further away it is, the softer the shadow edge will be. For a large light source, the light won't come from a single point, so at the side here you will have a bit less light because part of it is obstructed. Not as strong as the main light source, the area around your object will still cast reflected light onto your volume, which is why the shadow of a red rock will get blue tints from the sky in its shadow, for example. Which brings me to the next concept. Color theory. A color is composed of 3 distinct parts: the hue, which is the wavelength of the light from violet to red, value or grayscale, from white to black, and saturation, the intensity of color, how gray or pure it appears. Here's a color wheel. You can see that half of it is cold and half is warm. There are a few patterns you can follow on the wheel to make a harmonious drawing. Complementary colors are in opposition. They almost always look good and are used for a lot of logos. Note that it adds contrast when you use it out of balance. With the triad, you can have 2 colors for the scene and a third for highlights. Like with the shapes, colors have an intrinsic meaning that can be helpful to instill a mood. Red is passion and danger, yellow is optimistic, green is healthy, blue is smart and calm. You can use color palettes or color swatches to set your composition, which will be our last point. Composition is how you set a scene using all the previous elements and make the viewer look at where you want them to look. A good rule to start with is the rule of thirds. Pictures look better when the focus is not straight ahead but at a third. For a landscape or a complex scene, an easy way to compose your picture is with a background, a middle ground and a foreground. The orientation of your shapes helps direct the eye of a viewer pretty well, especially along a diagonal. Perspective sets the focus quite easily when a point is in a third, vertically or horizontally or both. Lights and shadows help to literally set the spotlight somewhere on your scene. Contrasts in color will inevitably direct the attention as well. By playing around with these elements, you can set really different moods. Here's a dual scene, for example. There's equality between the 2 sides. By going against these more natural compositions, you can also set unease or fear, for example with a slanted horizon line, or with the attention directed outside of the canvas to an invisible thread. And that is it! The 5 most important aspects to visual arts in 5 minutes. This is a really broad approach, but it covers the basis to get you started. You can find the PSD file that I used here for free download in the description. Tell me what other aspects of art you want me to tackle next, and subscribe to see my future work and tutorials. I'm Detroit and I hope you had fun. Bye!